Hello and welcome to a new episode of Airport CEO here on BongoPlanes, where we today have a lot of things to do at the airport. We want to work on the air side, we want to work inside the terminal to improve the customer experience or the passenger experience. We want to sign a few more airlines and much more, all that just after the drop. As always, before we get too far into today's episode, if you should end up enjoying this video, then don't forget to leave a like, or if you are new around here, why not hit subscribe. Alright, so the first thing we actually do here is actually to remove a little bit of terminal building, because honestly, I don't really think we need it. Now, when we are starting off a project like this, I start making the rough outline of the terminal building, but of course it's always a little bit of an estimate. Some places we need more space, some places we need a little less space. Here I thought I would remove it because then I could just continue the road here, and I want to do that because I want to have more parking space, and some of that will also be dedicated only for airport staff, because if you can see here, these parking lots are pretty much filled up, so there isn't much space left, which kind of indicates for me that there is a need for more of that. And as I say, we would like to give our workers some parking space as well, just to be sure that they actually also have that. So luckily we can here determine these parking lots, whether they should be only for passengers, only for staff, or both. And then of course we have also opened up the terminal here at the north side so that passengers can also enter into the terminal from that side. And I'm trying to do that in the hopes that we get some different flows of passengers arriving into the terminal, passing by the shops we have there, because we've already lost the contracts we signed for these shops. It wasn't surprising because we signed them very early and we didn't have many passengers coming in. Of course, these contracts do run out if we don't sell enough. I am kind of trying to hopefully get more passengers in, of course, with new flights, but also having them come into the terminal from multiple angles and thereby coming past more shops. Then of course we've also worked a little bit on the surroundings of the airport. Given that London City is placed in the middle of London, we are trying to emulate that by adding some buildings around. And then another important thing we of course want to do here is that when it gets dark outside, it gets very dark outside, and we want to add some light, so that passengers, at least where passengers are walking, so the walkways, that they are illuminated so the passengers can actually see where they are walking. That's also very important. We will also be doing that in front of the terminal so that we have that all well lit up. And then after having spent quite a bit of time with placing a lot of lights around the airport, we now have a situation where the surroundings are lit up as much as we possibly can here in the game. We did also work a little bit on the surroundings, also here adding some lights, adding some plants, trying to shine that up a little bit and trying to give it a little bit of a feel like the airport is surrounded by a city. So yeah, just a little bit of gardening was done as well. Now, enough about that. Let's move into the terminal because we have plenty of things to do there as well. But the first thing is we want to look at a few contracts to see what contract offers have loaded in so far. Alright, so we have the a little bit of a challenge, I guess, with the game, and that is the fact that every time you boot the game, you basically, or reboot the game, all the offers that you had been given previously, they are gone. Unless, of course, you've signed them. But that means the game kind of reloads all the offers again, but these are then just ticking in slowly, and it takes quite a long while. So while I'm constructing here, these offers are coming in, but these are just a fraction of the offers that we actually should be getting, and will be getting over time. So one of them, for example here, Logan, I would love to bring in, but they only have the DHC6 in this mod, and I haven't found any other Logan mod I have only found this one Logan mod, and the DHC6 only goes into small stands. It doesn't go into the medium stands, and the small stands we're only using for general aviation. So unfortunately that doesn't work at the moment, or if we sign them we won't be able to take in any flights of them, so it doesn't make sense to take that contract because it would just ruin our rating. There are plenty other here. One that I really would like to sign today is Lufthansa, if it loads in. I think a lot we can sign for sure. There are plenty other airlines, and you have suggested a lot of airlines, and we will come to them, of course, also here. Just like last time, we won't sign too many at once because we want to slowly build up. Flybe would be a great one, has been at the airport for a long time, but of course they don't exist anymore, so we won't be signing them. Europa was a wish of many. Or popular wish, and we will sign them for sure at some point, but I don't think today. But let's let the game work in the background while we continue working on our airport and see what other offers are ticking in a little bit later in this episode. And I mean, it's not like we don't have enough things to work on here inside the terminal, and we really need to get going with that because of course we have opened up the terminal for business. We are getting passengers in on the domestic and the international part of the airport, and frankly we're losing a lot of business with having these shops not finished, not constructed, and we could have them running and sign contracts and making more money, and we should definitely do that, as well as of course the fact that passengers would like to have some things to do while they're waiting for their flights, and shopping is one of the main things passengers apparently want to do in real life as well as in the game, which is something I struggle to understand. You could just look at planes. Isn't that more fun? Well, anyway, passengers like to go into shops. They like to go to restaurants, which is one thing we will be doing here. We are working on a restaurant here. My God, I'm really struggling to talk again here today, as usual, I guess. Anyway, so we want to make a restaurant here on basically kind of the central plaza of the airport. The main area here, just before passengers decide whether they are going to the domestic or the international part before they are passing through the passport controls. We can also think about if we should add a few shops on the part of the airport after the international, after the passport controls. It's something I haven't really done so far, but I guess that would make sense also to have a little bit there, although in the real airport they don't really have any shops. As soon as you start walking out towards your gates, there are no shops anywhere. Obviously, I guess it's just because there isn't really any space there, but we do have a little bit more space than the real airport, so maybe we can do that as well in a future episode. But firstly, here we're working on this nice little restaurant, making sure that passengers have enough space to sit and enjoy their meal, which I like to do with these small arrangements. We can then again here use the copy-paste method, which is very nice because it saves a lot of time just editing it up here, just quickly removing a few things so that passengers actually can walk around here. Then we should also just add a few open tables, I think, with just some seats around. I like that as well, or some seats here as well on these parts. All right, so while we're working on that, of course, the other thing we have talked about in the last episode, that was the whole thing with the lounges. I asked you guys to suggest what airlines should have a lounge. And there was one suggesting Aer Lingus, which I think absolutely that would make sense. And by the way, there was also the wish for the Aer Lingus mod with the new livery, which I didn't have in the last episode. I have found it now, but I haven't loaded it in for this recording yet, but I hope to have it then in the next episode. So hopefully from the next episode we will have Aer Lingus coming in with the new livery. Another thing, of course, and the lounges, a suggestion there was Aer Lingus should have a lounge. Absolutely, I agree. Again, basically your suggestions came in after I had recorded this episode, so from the next episode we can do that. Another suggestion which was really great was actually if we could make a lounge like Aspire or like a Star Alliance lounge, a lounge that would serve many airlines. And my first reaction was, but that doesn't exist in the game. Aha, but it does. I don't know if that is a new feature or if I just never noticed it, but you can actually say instead of assigning a lounge to one specific airline, you can assign it to any airline. So technically it could be some sort of, for example, a lounge like Aspire, so a company that has a lounge where you can basically buy into your access. Anyway, another lounge that we are working on here, we're just changing a little bit of the design, and we're doing that because I would like the lounge to be assigned to KLM. Then we will have a lounge here at the international part that is assigned to any airline, so any passenger can go in there, I guess if they're flying business or if they're paying for it. So let me first assign this one, KLM. So now they have a lounge, and we have a fourth lounge here in this part of the airport, and I don't assign it in this episode, which means next episode we could assign that, or will assign that, to Alingus. And we do still have a little bit more space, so we could add a few more lounges if we want to, but we will see. Alright, then we of course have this whole area here just after the security check where passengers are walking and walking and walking, and right now have nothing else to do other than go to the vending machines on their way towards their gates. But that of course shouldn't stay like that, because the whole idea was with this part of the airport to use it for shops. And right now they are just empty, so we need to fix at least some of that. We will handle some of the smaller ones, even though I think they're actually quite massive, but some of the smaller shop areas we will fill out today, so we can also here get this part of the airport started and start offering our passengers some entertainment in a way, I guess. And also here again we will be using the lovely feature that is the copy paste feature that we have in the game, because it just makes things so much easier and quicker to build. And I mean, shops are shops, there isn't that much that you can do differently in them. And let's also quickly assign some contracts right away, since we have them running, which would mean we can make some money. And speaking about money, now while we are working on a few lounges, actually 2 lounges here also in the domestic area, one which will be for CityJet and one will be again for any airline, so an Aspire lounge, let's just call it that. But let's quickly talk about the whole money thing, because of course lounges, other than helping us out with the rating of the airline, they do also provide an additional income, and the same goes for of course shops and restaurants and stuff like that. But you might have noticed that we don't really need to make any money, because of course we are playing here in Sandbox. So technically we don't need any of these things. We do need them for ratings, but we don't really need them for money, so we could also just have one shop and be happy with that. But of course we do try to kind of build London City Airport, and there are quite a few shops in London City Airport. But why are we then putting so much effort into all these things if we don't really need the money? I mean, one thing is we are trying to emulate the real airport, and we are trying to of course also get good ratings with passengers, so it does kind of matter, but of course it is not as essential for us to have them also running in a good way. I mean, for example, it doesn't really matter if we have a shop where the contract runs out because we didn't make enough money, because we are in Sandbox. But we are in Sandbox because we want to make this airport as close to the real airport as possible, instead of playing the game. I know this sounds a bit strange, but basically we could play the game outside of Sandbox, and then we would always need to be sure that anything we do will also give us an income, because otherwise at some point the airport will go broke. But that would of course, it would drag out this project really quite a lot, and the other thing is there would be quite a few things that we just wouldn't be doing because they wouldn't be financially sound. So this is kind of a compromise. Well, actually it's not a compromise. What it is simply we're trying to build an airport. We are in Sandbox. We are trying to do things that an airport in real life would do, and that an airport in real life would make money with. Whether it would work in this game is a whole different story, of course, and it's actually something that I would like to try out in the next season, because in the last season and in this season we have been building an airport more or less from scratch, and trying to emulate real airports. Last time it was Berlin Tegel, here it is London City, and I think this is really one thing I would like to do then in the next episode, because there are some parts of the game that we're kind of missing out on. So the whole development, the R&D thing, we are kind of missing out on, because we don't need to go into it when we are playing in Sandbox. It doesn't really change anything, it doesn't matter. But if we were playing the game as a game, so you have a budget, and when that has run out, you just can't do anything else. So you need to make sure that you're always having an income, and that what you are investing in also makes financially sense in the game. That is an aspect that I would like to try out a little bit more. And I think that's what we will be doing in the next season of airportceo, which would mean that the next airport will probably go and grow much slower, but much closer to what the game actually intends, in a way. So that's the whole spiel around this. But here we are still enjoying the fact that we are in Sandbox and we can basically do whatever we want. It doesn't matter if we are making money, but we're pretending, of course, that it is important because it is, after all, an airport, and in real life, the airport would need to make money. Alright, so before I sound like a broken record only talking about money or like an old ABBA song, let's take one more look at what offers have loaded into the game, what airlines we could sign. I don't think we will sign too many now, but let's see. Lufthansa I really wanted to have in today, but they still haven't loaded in. So let's get 2 more offers in for today, and then I think we will call it a day for this episode, because then we have actually achieved quite a bit, making the airport a bit more presentable. So I think Finnair could be a nice airline to get in. So let's sign them. There we go. And then let's see, one more. And I know we have many suggestions and I haven't forgotten them. We will sign them at some point, don't you worry. But let's see what else we can take here for today. I think Austrian, since we didn't get Lufthansa, Austrian is part of Lufthansa, so let's sign Austrian Airlines. All right. It seems like we have a little bit of an issue here in operations. So an aircraft can't land because the stand is still occupied. So the turnaround is a bit slow. And I wonder why, because we don't have any, we have enough staff, we have enough ground equipment. Okay, the path, of course, of the equipment could be a bit long, and that maybe being the reason. Well, we have to keep an eye on that to see if we have these issues also in the future. But right now, I'm not quite sure what else I could do. Yeah, we will keep an eye on that. So, while I am assigning a few slots here to the new airlines that we have signed here at the airport so we can get these flights in, it's really time to end today's episode. We have actually done quite a bit, made the airport a lot more presentable. Yeah, we need to keep an eye on what's going on there with the turnaround times, maybe figure out why they may be a little bit slow. But overall, I think it's a successful episode, except, of course, I didn't manage to sign the one airline I wanted to assign this time, Lufthansa, but maybe next time. And, of course, I haven't forgotten your suggestions. And don't be discouraged if I don't react on your suggestions immediately, because I try always to record a little bit ahead, so I kind of see your suggestions after I've most of the time already recorded the next episode, so it will happen over time, don't you worry. Now, with that, we really have reached the end of today's episode. Of course, as always, your suggestions, your feedback, anything you would like to say is always welcomed in the comment section below. I do genuinely read all the comments and try to respond to as many as possible. Now, with that, I'd like to say thank you so much for watching. If you have enjoyed the video, don't forget to leave a like. That would be very much appreciated. Of course, if you are new around here, you're always welcome to hit subscribe. And with that, thank you so much for watching. Hope to see you soon again. I'm checking out, and bye.